Do you have enough money in your account so that you can safely retire? How can you say that I have enough money and I am ready to retire? This is a very complex question. Many people do not have an answer for this particular question. In this video, I will try to argue and see when can you say I have sufficient enough money and I can safely retire. This is Dr. Chandrakant Bhatt, investment consultant and financial planner for NRI Money Clinic.
NRI Money Clinic. No hype, just the right advice.
Retirement years, otherwise known as the golden years, are the best years of a person's life. Everybody wants to enjoy their golden years. But if you look at the statistics, over 90% of the people who retire from work, they will never have their golden years. What's the reason? The reason is under-preparedness for retirement years. They do not know how long they are going to live. They do not know how much money they have. They do not know how much it is going to cost during the retirement years. The net result is they will never have golden years. If that's the case, if I want to retire today, how do I feel safe that I have enough money and I will never run the risk of outliving the money that I have? Let's try to find an answer for this particular problem. Before we check whether you have enough money for your retirement years, you should have completed a few more things prior to that. Number one, before you retire, you should have finished all responsibilities towards your children. If your children are still studying when you retire, they need money. If you still have EMIs to pay for your purchase of house, that's an unfinished responsibility. It's a good idea to finish all your responsibilities towards these kind of an expenses before you retire. Unfortunately, if you have not finished these responsibility, what you can do is earmark a separate account and the required amount of money, keep it separately. Don't mix it with your retirement funds so that when you retire, the requirement of funds which are for these particular causes are available in a separate account. The second thing that you should do before you retire to make sure that you have enough money is you should have purchased a good health insurance plan. When I say good health insurance plan, don't buy a plan for 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees. Buy it for sufficiently large enough size, maybe 10 lakhs, maybe 15 lakhs, maybe 25 lakhs as per your affordability. Health expenses are on the rise, so you need to be having sufficiently large enough health insurance cover before you retire. Don't wait till you retire to buy a health insurance policy. It may or may not be available for you. It's a good idea that you buy a health insurance cover at least 2 to 3 years before you retire. Now let me assume that you have finished all your responsibilities towards your children and loans and other things and you have a good health insurance policy with you. Now let me check how much money you need, or how we can say you have enough of assets or cash flow to suffice for retirement years. Let me check it in two case scenarios. Scenario number one, I assume your retirement income will come from only rental income that you may get from the properties. Now let's say that you need a lakh of rupee to run your show during your retirement years. The entire set of amount that you need will come from rental income. In that case, it is safe to assume that you have enough money for your retirement years. You may ask me a question, what about inflation? What can go wrong? Yes, you have a point. In the event of inflation, the rentals will automatically rise. So the rental real estate is inflation proof. So if all the money that you need for your livelihood comes from rental real estate, it is safe to assume that you have sufficient enough money for your retirement years. Now, having only real estate, is it a foolproof strategy? I can definitely say it's not a foolproof strategy, but it is nearly foolproof. If you run short of money for your livelihood, the asset price of that real estate is also available for your use. at some point of time in future, instead of getting rentals from the properties, you can decide to sell the property, get that asset value, put it in a bank or invest somewhere else and derive the required amount of money for your livelihood during your retirement years. There are spoilers in this scenario. What can spoil the game? There are many things which can spoil the game. One of the things is, if all the money that you need for your living comes from one single property, then the risk is that if you don't find a tenant or if there is some problem because of which you don't get rentals, you could be getting stuck. Instead of this, if you plan well and you have multiple properties and the rents come from multiple sources, then your chances of managing your retirement cash needs are far better. You can sell one of the properties and get some cash value, or all the properties may not be rented out. There could be one property or two property which may be having dry periods. So it could be still manageable. So it is safe to assume that when your rental income is sufficient for your livelihood during your retirement years, it's more or less certain that you will not have difficulty to find funds to fund your retirement years. Now let me look at scenario 2. Again, I will assume that you have finished all your responsibilities towards your children and loans and everything, and you have a good health insurance policy. Now your retirement income comes from your financial assets. That means you have saved money. The money could have been parked in the bonds or the bank FDs or a mutual fund portfolio or a pension company, insurance company, whatever it is, your total assets are financial assets. In such a case, how can we say that you have enough money for your retirement? Let's do some calculations here. Now let me assume that you need ₹1,00,000 every month. This is your living expenses. Now in 12 months, that is in 1 year, the total amount of money that you need is 1 lakh into 12 months is 12 lakhs. Now I'll give you a formula here. If you need 12 lakhs per annum, multiply it by a factor of 25. 12 lakhs multiplied by 25, this gives me a figure of 3 crores. If you say, I have 3 crores of rupees and your monthly cash needs is 1 lakh, you can safely say that you have enough money to last for your retirement years. The health insurance premium that you are going to pay will be paid from this 1 lakh. All the expenses that you have planned for should come from living expenses. In that case, 3 crores of rupees is sufficient enough for you, provided what you need is 1 lakh. If your need is more than 1 lakh, multiply that figure by 25. If your needs are lesser, again multiply it by 25, arrive at the amount of money that you need. How did I arrive at this figure of multiplying it by 25? That is where a formula comes to my mind. It is called Formula 4. Now, if you have a certain amount of assets, calculate what is the 4% of that asset represent. For example, if you have 1 lakh rupee, 4% of 1 lakh is 4 lakhs. 4% of 3 crores is 12 lakhs. So the drawdown rate or the safe drawdown rate can be predicted to be about 4%. This applies both for persons who live in India, for people who live outside of India where you have very less interest rate also. Still it is safe to assume 4% drawdown rate is sufficient enough for your retirement years. Now let us see how this 4% rule has come into existence. Let us try to see whether it is a valid argument, what can go wrong, in what circumstances it will not fit in, under what circumstances it fits very, very well. Now let us look at the Indian case scenario. Now the average bank rate, if I consider, it's around 6%. So you could be keeping your money in the bank or an insurance company, pension company, mutual fund portfolio, whatever it could be. You can draw about 4% of that money. If you are making 6% on your investment portfolio, you can draw 4%. Now the remaining 2%, what happens? One of the two things can happen. One, you could be paying the taxes and that tax could be that remaining 2%. The other possibility could be out of the 6%, 4% you are consuming, and if you are in a non-tax bracket, this 2% may be adding to your capital itself. Nevertheless, 4% drawdown rate is very, very safe. Now let us check this 4% rule in another case scenario. Let me assume that your investment portfolio does not earn any rate of return. That means you are going to earn 0% return on your investment. In that case, what happens to the 4% rule? In my assumption, even if your investment returns are 0%, still this 4% rule is fairly safe to assume. How do I say this? Now let's imagine that you retire at the age of 60 and your investment portfolio just doesn't grow over 25 years. It's purely hypothetical, it will not happen. In that case, what happens? If you draw 4% per year, that means in the next 25 years, you will exhaust all your money. That means to say, if you retire at 60 years of age, your investment portfolio does not grow at all, even by a percent. The cash that you have will last for next 25 years. The average life expectancy is around 75 years. For most people, so this 4% rule can hold good even in zero return environment. Now, if you look at the case of developed countries, there you still have 0% interest rate. In some countries, there are negative interest rate. But even there, it's definitely possible to earn some return on retirement corpus people are holding. Likewise, in developed countries, be it in Europe, UK, Canada, USA, I'm not very familiar with the circumstances there, but there is also governmental support. So if you calculate the total amount of money and apply 4% rule, and if the 4% of the financial assets that you have, if that is sufficient for your livelihood, then you can say you have enough money to last during your retirement years. Now, in all these calculations, what happened to inflation? What happened to depletion of purchase power of money because of inflation? Now, if your inflation is high, like in case of India or emerging markets, then your interest rates are higher. So when you are drawing 4%, your interest rates are more than 4%. That means the excess money that you have will be adding to your capital, and over the years, your drawdown rate, even at 4% rule, could be increasing. Let's say that you have a crore of rupee. If you are adding 2 lakhs back into your capital, that means next year your capital could be a crore and 2 lakhs. 4% of a crore and 2 lakhs will be higher than the amount that you are drawing. That means you are taking care of inflation to a certain extent. In case of developed world, inflation is negligible. So even then it affects, but still inflation will be taken care of in such a low inflationary environment. Let me add a word of caution here. This 4% rule is not an absolute science. I can't say for sure that under every circumstance it holds good. There can be spoilers. Inflation can be one spoiler. Tomorrow you may lose money because one of the bank would have collapsed, or you have done a wrong investment and things can go wrong. So don't take this 4% rule as a sacrosanct. Just take it as a thumb rule, just a general guidelines to see whether you have sufficient enough money. The best rule to follow, which I always follow, is more the better. If you think you need a lakh of rupee every month, it is better if you have 2 lakhs of cash flow every month. The excess money that you have as a cash flow can add back to your capital. It can add as a cushion during your retirement years. Likewise, this 4% rule holds good very well if you have a large amount of money. If you think this 4% rule meets your requirement when you retire, and if you are confident about it, then it is fine. But what this 4% rule says that I do not have enough amount of money to retire, then you can be up for rude shocks. Because if you say I have 1 crore and I need 10 lakhs every year, that means every year you are short by about 6 lakh rupees. 4% drawdown rate from 1 crore gives you 4 lakhs. You are short of about 6 lakhs. Either you have to cut down on your living standards, or you will be forced to deplete your capital, which means to say at some point of time in future, you run the risk of outliving your money. So if you have lesser corpus, this 4% rule may not work in your favor. But if you have enough or enough and more, 4% rule pretty well works for you. There is one more thing that I would like to tell here. Whether you have sufficient enough money, whether you have more than sufficient enough of money, or if you have less than the required amount of money, one thing you should try to do. That thing is, from the day you retire till you are 75 years of age, try to make sure that you do not deplete your capital amount. Try to maintain the capital at its level or try to grow it a little bit more. After 75 years of age, don't hesitate to deplete your capital slowly, just in case if you do not have sufficient enough cash flow because you didn't have sufficient enough money in the first place, or because of inflation, the amount of cash flow you are getting is not sufficient. Apart from the cash flow, you also have to dip into your capital. It's not possible for everyone to say, I have run out of my bank balance, this is the time I should leave the world. That will never happen. One of the things will happen. You will outlive your money, which means to say you don't have enough money to live. You will be dependent on the state or friends or relatives or your children. Or you leave behind some money for generation next. This is what's going to happen. It's perfectly not possible for anyone to calibrate their life to say that I have exhausted money, let me leave this world. Dear viewers, if you think you need professional assistance to design a retirement income strategy for yourself, you can make best use of our services. I have shown the WhatsApp number here on the screens. From any part of the world, you can send us a WhatsApp message and request for professional assistance. Either myself or one of our team members will help you to design a good retirement strategy for yourself. Feel free to contact us anytime. Dear viewers, if I have given some inputs for you to check whether you are ready to retire or not, whether you have enough money to retire safely or not, please like this video. If you are a person who is watching this channel for the first time, or if you are yet to subscribe for this channel, please hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and relatives. Thank you very much for watching this episode on NRI Money Clinic. I will be back with you with yet another video very soon.
Press the bell icon for more details and subscribe our channel.